Hey everybody, Dave here. Hope you're having an awesome day. So, DesignerCon is right around the corner, and we will be there November 18th through the 20th. I hope to see you there. I am doing a collaboration with Stumpt, and he does these really fun doodles, and he's got these super cool characters. He's doing some really super unique, super cool knockdown dolls. And we're doing a collaboration where I took one of his characters. He's got this little skull guy, and I went ahead and I sculpted it out of Super Sculpey, baked it, and then I made a mold, and I've been casting them in resin. You can watch some of that process on my Instagram channel. I'm not super great at it yet, but I'm learning. And I've been taking these guys and the cast and the resins the pours that I've been making, I've been painting them, and we've got a series of 5 black skulls with gold eyes. They're super cool. Those are going to be some DesignerCon exclusives. Again, check out my Instagram. You can see that. But I have a resin cast here, and I want to do something even more unique and something super cool, maybe with a base, maybe rusted out, maybe some overgrown moss. I think it'll be fun. So come on, let's do it. All right, so here's my Skulley. He's looking pretty cool. I did sand off this bottom portion at an angle because I want it to sit and look as though it's like kind of sunk into the mud. I'm gonna clean up these little seams, but I don't have to do a lot of cleanup because I am gonna kind of grunge this thing out. So to grunge it out, I just took tools that were around, and I took this little saw and I just started hacking lines in it because I want to look like this is a metal rusted out skull that's been in the jungle or in this kind of mossy environment for a really long time. So got out my Dremel tool, started hacking away on that. Got out another little bit on the Dremel. Maybe it looks like little pit marks, maybe where rust is kind of eating away at it. So this is actually really fun, and it was a little scary at first, but once you get going, it's like, this is pretty great. And there it is, all scuffed up. So I'm going to take this out, I'm going to prime it, and there it is primed. Now, I worked on a project at my work that we used this rust effect, and it actually was pretty cool, so I went and got some myself. And what it is, it's a primer, so you prime the entire thing, and then there's this metal iron effect, and then you activate it with this activator spray. So here I am just priming it up, and you have to do 2 coats. You have to let it dry an hour in between. I'm super impatient, so I just used a hairdryer. And then you got this metal effect. You brush that on. I brushed a couple of coats on that, let it dry, brush it again, let it dry. And here it is. And there, I want to show you the activation, so I did a little time lapse of this. And so just sit back, relax, and enjoy. All right, now onto the base. So I'm using some scrap pieces of foam that I had. And what I ended up doing was just piecing a couple together. So I had this scrap piece of foam, and then I had a little scrap piece of thinner foam from the Dollar Tree. And this stuff, it has a black paper on it, so normally what you can do is you can just peel that black paper off, and it actually glues down a little bit nicer. So I peeled that black paper off, took my utility knife, and I'm just trimming it because I want it to have like a little slope, almost like it looks like it's going into like a little bank. Taking a little ball of aluminum foil, put some texture in there. This is a great way to kind of rough up some foam and give it a really cool texture. You can see the couple of extra little pieces of foam that I kind of pieced together. Not a big deal because I'm going to Mod Podge this thing pretty heavily. So I'm taking some tacky glue, laying that down on the wood base, and then I'll lay down the thinner piece of foam core. And you'll see here I've got a line kind of scribed there, so I'm gluing this down, and then I'll glue the foam down right there. So that looks pretty good. And here's some lightweight spackle. I will just use that to fill in all the little cracks and gaps, and it also gives a nice little texture in there. So I took some dirt from my backyard, a little bit of Mod Podge, sprinkle it in, mix it up, and voila, I've got some melted cookies and cream. I'm going to cover the entire base, take a little extra sand, sprinkle that on there, and then that's looking pretty cool, so I'm going to let that dry. And then after that dries, I'm going to go ahead and prime the whole thing. And now I've got a really nice base to work with. Now in the end, I'm going to cover this entire thing with moss. So I'm going to paint a brown base That way, if I have any holes or gaps in the moss, it really won't stand out as strong. So here I am just finishing up the brown base, and I think that's going to work. That looks pretty great. Now for the moss. I got this bag of moss, I think at Joann's, and I started working on it, and I was kind of clumping it on. I'll be totally honest with you, at this point, I was getting kind of discouraged because the moss was so thick and it didn't quite lay down how I was thinking it would lay down. It was really brown underneath because I think they essentially just paint it. So I'm kind of looking at this and I'm not loving it. So I think what I'm going to do is take all this off, take some Elmer's glue, brush that around, and then I took the moss and I actually just shredded it really fine and kind of patted it down, and that actually is working pretty well. So kind of working around the base, looking at different areas that I want to put the moss, put some glue on the head, tapping it down there. You can see I took some of my green grass flock that I use in some of my other projects, and I sprinkled that on, and that actually worked pretty nice. It's adding a little bit more color to it and a little bit more green. And I have this little concoction of watered down glue. There are makers that do this and they like spray it and spritz it, but that didn't work for me, so I just brushed it on. And then here I am just trimming that up a little bit. Now let's do some rust washes. So I got this Vallejo, just taking a brush and just kind of pulling it down, looking at the angle of how it's sitting and how water would run down. And this is actually really super fun for me. I love doing this. It's almost relaxing. I wanted to add a little bit of this metallic, almost like it's chipped away a little bit, so I'm going to play around with that. And then I have this little gap here that I left on the front and on the side, and I want it to look like there's a little puddle of water that it's sitting in. So I have this UV resin and then a little UV flashlight that I got on Amazon. And really all I did was I just kind of filled in that gap and hardened it with the UV light. And then I did the same on the back side. And I think it looks really cool. It looks like it's sitting in water, and that's why it would be rusting. And so I added a couple little areas of maybe some little puddles around the rocks, and then just kind of smeared that around with a little sculpting tool. And then again, you just hit it with the UV light and it hardens in a matter of seconds. So it's actually really satisfying and really fun to see the results happen that quick. So I was finishing up the sculpt, painting the base. I was done. And then I showed my buddy and he's like, "Oh, you need mushrooms on there." So I was like, "Oh, you're so right." So I just took some Magic Sculpt and I rolled little balls, flattened them out. After they hardened, I'm kind of gluing them together in little clumps. Then I just glued on some stems, and there's a little cluster. I think they look pretty great. And then I did kind of the classic red with the white dots, but after I did it and I put it on the sculpture, I just thought they looked too cartoonish. And so after I put that on, I thought, nope. So I went ahead and I just painted them like a bland mushroom color. They look pretty great. So now it's done. All right, so I'm not going to lie. I thought for a hot second there it wasn't going to turn out, but I think in the end it turned out pretty cool. I've been actually making a whole bunch of these. I got this gold one here. It's actually gold leaf that I put on. That was super fun. And then this one here is a hooves, and I tried to do like a metal patina on it. So I've been making a bunch of these for DesignerCon, but let me grab this guy here. Yeah, there's a finished product. I think it turned out pretty cool. So let's get a little focus on there. Let's do a turnaround shot of this, and as always, it's a great day to be a toy nerd. If you're at DesignerCon, come visit me, booth 2628, November 18th through the 20th. Hope to see you there.